Welcome to another video tutorial. In this video, we're going to take a look at attach points. We're going to go through 3 examples in this video. Each one is going to sort of build upon complexity of the one before, but we'll start very simply with the first one. So what I'll do is I'll quickly go through the 3 things that we're going to create in this video so that you can see where we're basically going to go with this video. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to attach a cardboard box to the top of the table. So we're going to put a cardboard box on a table. And that will allow me to very simply and quickly explain how the attach point system works in RPG in a Box. So we'll do that very quickly by just attaching a quick simple object to another quick simple object. Then what we're going to do is we're going to move on from that and we're going to create a 3-part system where we're going to have a door handle that's attached to a door model, and then both of those, the door handle and the door, will then be attached to the door frame. So that will be 2 things that are attached together, and then those are then attached to something else. So that will be a little bit more involved. And then the final thing we're going to create is a 4-part statue that consists of a feather that's attached to a hat. The hat is attached to the statue, and the statue is attached to a plinth. So again, those 2 things, the door and the statue, will allow me to explain how the more intricate sides of the attachment system works. But before we get to any of that, if you're a complete beginner with attachments and you're not, you're coming at this fresh and you don't know how it all works in RPG in a Box, let's start very simply with attaching a cardboard box to a table. Now, the first thing you might be wondering is, why would you even use attachments? Why wouldn't you just draw the cardboard box on the table? For example, let's load the models up. Here's my table, just a simple table, and here's my cardboard box. So I could just select everything, copy it, go to my table, paste, and move it up. Drop it down, move it in, and there we go. To all intents and purposes, the box is on the table. So you're probably thinking, why didn't you just do that? And you could do that. It depends on what your needs are. But here's some benefits for why you would attach the cardboard box rather than actually draw it into the frame. First of all, you can scale attachments independently of the model that you're editing. So if I attach the cardboard box to this table, I can make the box smaller than the table, or I can make the box bigger than the table, right? I can also move it in finer increments. I can move it basically off this grid. So there's more things that you can do with attachments than that, but those are the most sort of immediate answers to that question of why wouldn't you just draw it on the table. Just gives you a little bit more control over the size of the objects and things. For example, this feather, if we take a look at it, it's quite big, right? And it's actually bigger than the hat. So if I was to just draw that feather onto the hat, it's going to be huge. But when I attach the feather to the hat, I'll be able to make the feather much smaller than the hat. So that's the benefit of using attachments, is you can take a model that you make, quite big, and then you can attach it to something and scale it down. So this door handle, for example, will not be that size necessarily when it's on the door. You might scale it down a bit. Okay, so let's start by taking a look at how do we attach something to something else. In this case, how do we attach this cardboard box to this table? Okay, so in the model tools of the voxel editor, you'll see this sort of chain link icon. If you click that, that's the Create Attach Point button. That means now that wherever you click, as if you were like drawing voxels, but instead, when you click, it will create an attach point. And it will ask you to create to give it an ID. So let's make this a name that befits the table. So we'll call this surface. So we've now created an attach point called surface. And you can see that denoted as a white cube with the same chain link icon on grid, on the cube. Okay, so this table now has a surface attach point. We'll save the model. It's important that whenever you add attach points to a model, save it before you go to another model that's going to be attached, because you may not see the attach points in the list when we go to add them in a moment. And I'll bring that up again when we get to it. So let's now switch over to the cardboard box. And we need to place an attach point on the cardboard box as well. So staying in attach point mode, let's look underneath the box and place the attach point, let's say there. And we'll just call this underbox. And again, it will create an attach point called underbox on the box. And then one more time, save the model, make sure it's all saved. Okay. Now, to attach something, you have to think about which object should be attached to which other object. So in this case, we don't want to attach the table to the box. We want to attach the box to the table. So what you do is you go to the table model. So this is the thing that the box is going to be attached to. And you want to go to the model properties, and you want to scroll down until you see the attach points section. If you don't have any attach points, then this will be grayed out. But this will be a drop-down list of all of the attach points that this model has. Now in this case, both of my models only have one each. So the table one has one called surface. Okay. So you're going to select the attach point that you wish to attach something to. In this case, there's only one. And you're going to click this button here. That is the attachment icon, but with an eye symbol as well. And if you hover over it, it says preview attached objects. So if we click that, this is the attachment viewer. Okay. Now from here, you can preview attachments, and these can be attached objects, but you can also attach effects. We'll talk a little bit about effects in this video, but I'm not going to really go into any great detail on them because effects is something completely different. For now, I want to focus on attachments and specifically object models. But we can preview our attachments from here. So what we want to do is we want to preview the cardboard box. So drop the model drop-down list down and select the model which you wish to attach. And then this object attach point drop-down box should auto-populate with all of the attach points that are in this model. So if you didn't save your model, then this list might be empty. You might also need to restart RPG in a Box sometimes as well, reload your project sometimes to get these to show. So, but 9 times out of 10, if you save the model before actually attempting the attachments, then all the names should appear. And then we have a tick box here, which if we tick it, means that when we play the game, this object will be automatically attached. If we don't tick this, then we will have to attach it manually via a script at some point in our game. Now, because I just want to simply have the cardboard box be on the table, I'm going to tick this so that when we place the table in the map editor, it will automatically have the cardboard box on it already when we play the game. So if we now click OK, we can now see the cardboard box attached to the table. And you'll notice a couple of things. First of all, it's positioned a bit wrong. It's a bit of it is inside the table. It's a bit too low. But also it's not lined up with the table properly. You can still see a bit of the green center of the table. But the other thing you'll notice is that unlike the table, the cardboard box doesn't have any voxels. And what I mean is it doesn't have the edge lines. So you see these sort of black lines that denote a different voxel. This voxel is separate from this one and this one, etc., etc. The cardboard box doesn't have that because we're looking at an attachment. And this is the way the voxel editor kind of shows you while you're editing. But what you're looking at currently is an attachment. You can denote that because you can't see the voxel cubes on the attached model. Okay? You can still see them if you edit the model itself directly, so you can see them here, but you just can't see them on the attached version that's on the parent model, if that makes sense. So let's make a few alterations. We can alter the attachment from here. We have 6 sliders and a scale setting. So the first 3 sliders are the position of this attach point and thus the attached model. So if we adjust this one, so let's say 0.4, we can see that the box moved slightly to the right. I'll do it again just so you can see. If you pay attention to the box, you can see it moves slightly towards the right, which is what I want. But I want it obviously to move a bit more than that, so I might try 0. No, that's still not enough. You can also use the mouse wheel. So that will do. That's good for the left to right adjustment. I don't need to adjust the back and forth. In fact, I will just adjust that a bit more. There you go. So use the mouse wheel to get fine-tuned alterations to a value box. So that's the positioning, but let's also change the height. So that would be this one. If we go mouse wheel up while we're hovering over here, we can see it's going up. Come down a bit, and there we go. So now we've positioned the box on the table properly. And now we're basically in the same position as I was earlier when I copied and pasted the actual model onto the table. But the benefit now is that I could scale the box smaller. I could say the box is half that size on all directions. 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, and now we have a box that is much smaller than the original model because it's an attachment. And that's one of the benefits of attachments, is that you can scale them down much smaller than they normally can go as voxel models. Okay, let's put this back to, let's say, 8. You could even make a sort of flat box like that. Oops. Maximum size, by the way, is 2. And I think the minimum size is -2. Let me try -5. Sure, you could do -2. Or maybe not. Maybe 0.1 is... Yeah, 0.1 is the smallest for the scale. But let's put this to 0.8. So there's my cardboard box. It's on the table. But the other benefit is we can also use the rotate. So we could rotate this on the Z-axis, for example. We could rotate this 45 degrees. And now we've got a box that's not even using the grid. It's, it's manually been rotated on a much finer angle. We could rotate it 5 degrees and get really minor turn like that. And you can also rotate it in other angles. So we could put 10 on there, get it leaning slightly. So it's up to you what you want to do. But the great thing about attachments is you have much more control over how they look on your models. So let's put these back. And then we can also copy and paste settings. So if you were doing an animation, for example, and you had other frames, we could copy these settings when we're happy with them and then paste the settings in the other frames. Okay, we might do a bit of that when we get to animating later on. So that is very simply how to create a attachment system. So what we've done is on our model, we created an attach point called surface. And then on our cardboard box, we created an attach point called underbox. And then on our table model, which is the one that is going to have the object attached to it, we set up by clicking this button here that we wanted the cardboard box to be attached via this attach point using this attachment on the box. And we ticked this so that it will automatically appear in game. So if we were to save this now with our box on the table, if we place the table down and we go into the game, let's save the map. Here's our table, and you can see the cardboard box is there on the table. So that's a very simple attachment system. Okay, Now we're going to get a little bit more advanced as we start to talk about how to do attachments of attachments. So before we get into doing any actual technical stuff, i.e. getting into the voxel editor and actually doing anything, I just want to explain a couple of things that will help make the rest of this hopefully make more sense, because this is going to be quite important to understand going forward with the rest of this video. Okay, so the way attachments work is you have two attach points on a object. So for example, this table has an attach point called surface, and the cardboard box has an attachment called underbox. And you need two attach points to connect together. Okay, think about it like plugging something in. You need the socket, but you also need the plug, right? And the two things plug together. Okay, I want you to also consider the names that I'm going to use moving forwards for my attach points. I'm going to use the names point A and point B to refer to the two attach points on an object. Starting with these two here, I'm going to do this right now. On the table model, I'm going to rename surface, and I'm going to call it point A. Okay, save the model. And I'm going to go to my cardboard box, and I'm going to rename underbox to point B. Now you can genuinely call these anything you want, but for the rest of this video, I'm going to use these names to help me explain the more complicated side of the attach point system. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to picture every attachment that's point B as a plug, and every attachment that's named point A as a wall socket. So imagine the cardboard box is basically plugging into the table. On the wall would be point A, and the plug would be point B. Okay, so you're plugging point B into point A. Okay, I hope that sort of makes sense. So the reason why I'm going to use these names, and the reason why I want you to picture that, is it's going to really help explain why the attachment system works the way it does when we get into the more complicated side of things. Okay, so let's move over now to our door handle, door and door frame setup, and let's recreate what we've done here by attaching the door to the door frame and the handle to the door. And let's just see what happens if we just do everything we've just done with the cardboard box and table, but just do it with the free objects for this door system. So we'll start with the door frame, and we'll make sure we're in attach point mode, and we'll click to create our first attach point. And I'm going to call this point A. This is where the door is going to plug into. Okay, so I'm creating the point upon which the door is going to plug itself into when we attach it. Okay, save the door frame. Let's now switch over to our door. We need to create an attach point, let's say on the left side of the door. This is going to be point B. This attach point is going to be what sort of plugs into, if you will, this attach point. And then the last thing we need to do is also, while we've got the door open, we also need to create an attach point for where the handle is going to go. So let's put the handle, let's say about there. So we'll stay in attach point mode. We'll just add another one, but this is now point A, where the handle is going to plug into. So we now need to go to the handle, and let's just put a attach point there. This is going to be point B. So this point is going to plug into this point. Okay, so once you've done that, save every single model, make sure it's saved with all the attach points, and then generally it's a good idea to sort of work, I think, in reverse, but you can work in any order, but typically I would go in reverse. So I want to first of all attach the handle to the door. So I go to the door first, and I go to the model properties section, scroll down, and I'm going to find point A. This is where the handle is going to plug into. That's this point here. And I'm going to click the preview button, and I'm going to select that the handle needs to plug into point A via point B. Yeah? Automatically attach. And again, these can be called anything you want. It's just for the purposes of explaining how this works. I'm going to use point A and point B just to help differentiate these. Okay, so now you can see that the handle is on the door, but we can obviously adjust its scale. It's a bit too big, so let's make it, that might be too small, but we'll just do it anyway. So 0.5 is not too bad. Oh, I should also point out that if you want to hide these white boxes, because they're kind of in my way, I just want to see the door handle. I don't want to see the white box. You can click this button here, display attach points, and that will still show you what's attached, but you can now get rid of the obstructing view of the white box. So now I can scroll wheel the door handle to where I want it. I'm not going to get too precise here because I'm going to show you why in a minute. So let's say that's where I want the door handle to be, and I'll bring the attach point back now. You can also hide attachments by clicking this button here, and that will hide attached objects. Yeah. So if you're not seeing your attachments, make sure these two buttons are turned on. Yeah. So save that. That's our door handle setup. Now we need to set up our door on the door frame. So with that, we now go back to our door frame model, and we go to the only attach point that this door frame model has, which is point A, and we click the preview button, and we want to connect via point A. We want to connect the door via its point B. We want to automatically attach this object in game. And there we go. There's our door. So we need to make a few adjustments here as well to the position. Although that's probably pretty good. And then we'll save that. So it seems to be fine, right? In the editor, everything looks fine. So let's now place our door frame. So let's go into game and see what happens. All three things should be attached. So the door should be attached to the door frame, and the handle should be attached to the door. So you can start to see we've got a bit of an issue. The door is fine, but the handle is not. Why is the handle not where we told it to be? We attached the handle around about here, but now it's up in the air, right? If we pan the camera around, you might also see sometimes it's also not even attached to the object. Sometimes it could even be a bit more forward. You know, the door handle might be about here, for example. It all depends on how you make your models, but sometimes your attachments can be, you know, just way off. And the point is to demonstrate already, just with the handle alone, it's not where we told it to be. Let's also, while we're discussing this, let's also set up the statue. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my feather, and my feather shouldn't have an attach point yet, so I'll just delete that. Let's add an attach point called point B, because that's what it's going to plug in via. And in our hat, we need, let's say, an attach point there, which is point A. So we'll just save that there for now. But then we also need to create on, let's say, the bottom of the hat, a point B by which it's going to plug into the statue. So let's now go to the statue. So save both of those. Got to save the feather as well. And then we also need a point, let's say, in the center. This is, again, where the statue is going to plug into the base. So we'll put a socket on the base, point A, where the point B of the statue can connect to. Does that make sense? So let's save all of these and let's go again in reverse. So let's start with the hat, because we want to attach the feather to the hat. So scroll down, select point A, click attach. We want to preview the feather via its point B, automatically attach. Let's scale this down to something like 0.4 maybe. I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to be too precise about how big or small it is. You get the idea. It's a feather in the hat. We might angle it a bit. Let's say a bit more that way. And let's leave it like that. So there we go. Save. That's our feather attached to the hat. Great. Let's now move to the statue, where we want to preview point A is going to be the hat via its point B. There's the hat. Let's, I'm going to move the hat a bit more this way, and I'm going to rotate it like it's at an angle. And scale-wise, I think that's fine. I'm going to leave that as is. So save the model. And then we'll switch to our plinth. And we're going to preview point A, connecting the statue via its point B. And obviously that needs to be raised. Again, I'm using the mouse wheel to get these fine-tuned movements. That needs to be moved back, probably to about there. I'll do. And then maybe move it in. Now, that's probably fine. Okay, so there's our 4 attached objects. We've attached the feather to the hat to the statue, and the statue to the plinth. Save everything. Make sure it's all saved. Make sure there's no asterisks in any of your models. Let's go to the map editor. Let's place our... I should point out as well, if it isn't already clear, when you place your object in your game, what you're placing is the very base object. So in the case of the cardboard box on the table, I'm placing the table. In the case of the handle attached to the door attached to the frame, I'm placing the frame. And in the case of the feather attached to the hat, attached to the statue, attached to the base, I'm placing the base. So you always place the very bottom item in the map, and all the others will be automatically attached, so long as every model in the previewer has this ticked. If this is not ticked, then it won't attach that attachment in the game automatically. So let's just take a quick look at what we've got now with our statue. So we have a bit of an issue. Just like our door with the door handle, our statue is fine. The statue is on the plinth, pretty much where I placed it, maybe slightly off in a direction, I don't know. But what we can clearly see is the feather is not attached to the hat. It's, it's visible, but it's not actually attached physically to the hat. And the hat is not where we attached it. I didn't put it, in his head at an angle like that. I put it off to the left-hand side at an angle. So the angle is working, but the position is not. So scale and position works, but the positioning is not working correctly. Now, the reason for this is because, this happens when you have grandchild attachments, if you will. So let's take this door handle, for example. If we think about the relationship between the door handle and the door frame, okay, the door handle is essentially the grandchild, because if you think about the door being the child of the frame and the handle is the child of the door, that makes the handle the grandchild of the frame, right? Because it's 2 layers back, or 2 layers forward, if you will. This feather is the great-grandchild of the plinth, because the hat is the grandchild of the plinth and the statue is the son, if you will, okay? So you've got this sort of degree of separation from these models and these attach points, okay? This issue that we've got with the door handle and the hat and the feather starts to come in when you have this kind of distanced separation, okay? If you just want to attach something like a box on top of a table, it works fine. But if you want to make more complicated setups where you've got something attached to something that's then attached to something else and that something is attached to something else, like, for example, the statue, then just doing what I've shown you so far is not enough, okay? And this is the reason why I want you to understand point A and point B and the associated socket and plug analogy. Let's get into how to fix this problem. So let's start with the door frame, because that's going to be the more involved process. So let's start with opening our door handle model, okay? The door handle model has one attachment, and it's a point B plug, if you will, okay? Every point B, or every sort of, every point B attachment has to be at a very particular offset. And that offset is 0, 0, 0. In other words, the very center of your model. Center in this direction, center in this direction. And although it's not center in the actual height, it is to be at the bottom of the, flat on the ground, if you will, of the model. So that's 0, 0, 0. So every point B attachment, obviously, as I say, you can name your attachments anything you want. I'm using point A and point B to show you which attach points I'm referring to. But every point B, in other words, a attach point that's used to connect this thing to something else, every one of those attach points needs to be at 0, 0, 0, okay? This might make more sense when we get to something like the door, where it has more than one attach point, okay? So this door has two attach points. It's got a point A, which is holding the handle, but it's also got a point B, which is used by itself to plug into the door frame. This point B, this one here, the hinge, this is the one that needs to be 0, 0, 0, down on the ground and in the center of the grid, like so. Save the model, save the handle as well. And we're going to need to do the same with we don't need to do the same with the door frame, because the door frame doesn't plug into anything. So it's only the attach points that plug that model into something else. Those are the ones that need to be at 0, 0, 0. Okay? So our frame is fine. However, we're going to have a bit of an issue now. If we go back to our door and we re-preview point A that connects the handle, we're going to see that we need to reposition it. Because obviously what we've done is we've gone into the handle and we've moved the attach point round. So on our door, it now is connected to the wrong place. But all you have to do is simply just reposition, that was the wrong one, reposition your point A to put the handle now where you want it to attach. So let's say I want it about there, okay? And to prove that it's exactly where we want it to be, what I will do is I will colour the door at that point with, let's say, a bronze colour, so we can see that it will be attached at that point, okay? And let's save the door. And then we need to go to our door frame and do the same thing. We need to preview the door attachment again on point A, because you'll see that that also has moved, because, again, we moved the attach point of the door. So now we need to reposition it to where it should be in-game. So we'll just move that down to about there and reposition it to about there. And let's save and let's retest the game and see what our door looks like. So here we are in game, and you can now see that the door is attached in the right place and the handle is exactly on that voxel. Yeah. Let's fix our statue. So we'll go through the exact same process, but with our statue. So we'll start with the hat. Oh no, sorry, we start with the feather, because again, the feather plugs into something. So we need to specify that that attach point is at 0, 0, 0. Save. Go back to our hat. Re-preview the point A feather. And you'll see it's slightly off. Although, to be honest, but that doesn't really need adjustment because the attach point really was already quite close to where it was anyway. So it's not made a huge difference to the model. So let me just hide the, just so I can see where it is. Now I'm going to leave that where it is. Cuts down the amount of work I have to do, so that's fine. So that's fine. So then we need to adjust the hat's point B. So let's select point B. This needs to be 0, 0, 0. Save. And go to our statue. We need to re-preview point A, hat point B, and now we can see the hat needs adjusting. That's probably all it needs. I'm going to leave the rest of it like that, maybe bring it down a tad. That'll do. Save that, and then obviously the statue's point B needs to be 0, 0, 0. Save. Go to our plinth. Let's re-preview the statue. And obviously we need to bring the statue down. And possibly move it a bit to the side like that. And let's preview that in game. And now you can see all four things are exactly where they should be. The feather is in the hat, angled at the right position, but the angle was not wrong anyway. The hat is in the right position on the head, off to the side, and the statue is on the plinth. So, and you can obviously get more complex than that. If you had something attached to the feather as well, for whatever reason, then you would just make sure that that thing that gets attached to the feather, its attach point would be at 0, 0, 0, and then the point A attachment on the feather, you would attach that thing and then reposition it. Just to make this sort of abundantly clear, if you know you're going to be making a model or a series of models that have multiple attachments connecting, multiple different models together, the best thing to do is do the 0, 0, 0 first before you even preview any of the attachments. Then you don't have to do it twice like I had to in this video. But I, positioned things twice just to show you the first time that this issue crops up and what causes it, and then the second time to show you how to fix it. But obviously, now you know that your attaching objects need to have its attach point at 0, 0, 0. Just do that when you create the attach point. So, for example, let's go to our cardboard box. Let's just do a quick example in here with our cardboard box system. Let's quickly create an object which we're going to put on top of the cardboard box. I don't know, let's put a book on top. Okay, doesn't have to be anything special. I'm just going to create a quick blue covered book. And we'll just quickly draw a small book, something like that, right? And then we need to give it an attach point by which it's going to attach to the cardboard box. Okay, so I'm going to place it. I can call it whatever I want. Just to fit the theme, I'll call it point B. Okay. And then we need to specify that it goes to to 0, 0, 0. So I do this before I even line it up with the cardboard box, because I know I'm going to have, because it's an attachment of an attachment, I already know I'm going to have to do it anyway. So I do this first, then save the model, then go to my cardboard box. I can now create an attach point on my cardboard box where the book's going to go. I can call it anything I want. So I'll just call it box top, just to show that it can be anything. And then we'll preview the book via point B, automatically attach. And now we can scale it if we wanted to, position it. And then that book will now be exactly on top of the cardboard box on the table at that position. Yeah. So I think I'm making the book a bit too small, but you get the idea. Yeah. So hopefully that makes sense. That I sort of created that very quickly, created the attach point on it, and I already knew I was going to make it an attachment of an attachment. So I straight away set this particular attach point on the book itself to 000 before I previewed it on the model. Yeah. So the last thing I want to talk about is how to animate an attach point, especially if you're using this offset system of 000, because we've got to have a bit of an issue now because we want to animate this door so that it, swings open, right? But we're going to have a bit of a problem because the attach point on the door is down here. So if I was to rotate this attach point, for example, let's say 45 degrees, it actually turns in the center because that's where the attach point is on the door. It's down here, right? So, and it's actually also there once we've moved the one that it was there originally, but because of my positioning of the door, this model's attach point has also come down here as well. But, the point is it's now rotating not on the actual hinge where we want it to, it's rotating in the center because this is where it has to be in order to look right in the game. So how do we fix this particular issue? Well, there's no quick, easy fix. What you have to do is you just have to use the offset tools to position the door each frame. Because the thing to understand about animating attach points is it's got nothing to do with the actual rotation that makes, the door spin properly in game. It's all to do with how it looks in each of the frames. So as long as it looks correct in each frame, it will animate like that in the game. So let me show you what I mean. So here's our closed door. So let's duplicate the frame. So we get all the attach points in frame 2. And let's rotate the door by 15 degrees. Okay. So we can already see that it's starting, the hinge is, it's rotating in the center. So it's clearly not right. So what we need to do now is push the door back by scrolling on the mouse wheel and also moving it a bit more to the left. Okay. And now if we flick between frame 1 and 2, you can see it now looks a bit more correct. Perhaps it's a bit too close to the left. So this is a case where you would just have to sort of go by eye and just fine tune your position. So maybe bring this one out a bit. Okay, let's go to frame. Let's duplicate that now and set this to 30 degrees. And again, we're going to have to move it in and to about there, and then just go back and forth. Again, this is where it gets a bit time consuming, but all you're doing is you're just manually using your lining it up with your eye, sort of get it to the same. It is a bit sort of tedious, but it's the only sort of way to sort of get around it really, because we are basically rotating it on a different spot. So you have to sort of offset the rotation by that spot. I've just loaded in a backup I saved of the model before the tutorial. So this is the one I made earlier. So you can see that I just had to fine tune each position on each frame. And then what I did is I created an animation called open, and I set it for frame 1 to 7, and I set it to clamp. And then I created a close, which is the 7 to 1. And then now if you play open, that's the open animation, and then close is the reverse. So you get that nice kind of smooth movement, which you don't get if you animate it via voxels. So that's the benefit to animating attach points. Okay. Now, obviously, if you're just attaching a model directly to another, like the cardboard box to the table, then you don't have to worry about this offset. You can just very easily rotate it, and it will rotate exactly the way you want it to. But when you're rotating something that you've had to attach in a different way, you have to obviously deal with this offset. Now, the other thing to quickly talk about when it comes to attach points is you've got to remember that this door is not part of this model, okay? Let me show you why that's important. We have this script on this door. Let me just quickly show you the door has a property called open, which starts off false. So if it's false, then it plays the open animation and replaces the navigation. That basically replaces interact only to walk and interact, and that sets the open property to true. Otherwise, it plays the closed and sets walk and interact to interact only. So this will basically open and close the door when you interact with it. Okay, and so the property toggles that. Okay, so if we place this into the map, let's draw our lines back first. You can see that we've got a scripted object ready to go. So let's save and test. So here we go. We're in the game. And if I try to click the door, notice my interaction cursor is not visible. And if I click, I can't open the door. And that's because you've got to remember that the door is not a part of this model. It's an attachment of this model. The actual model we placed in the map editor is the frame. So if I hover over the frame, that I can click on. And if I click it, I open the door. Now, obviously, that's not what we want, because normally in a game you would click on the door and the door would open. So here's how you fix that. With your door frame model, the important thing to remember is that, again, the door is not a part of this model, okay? It's an attachment. So what we're about to do is not going to interfere with the door, so don't worry about that. But we're going to edit the voxels of the door frame. You can select any color you want, doesn't matter. But for this, I'm going to select black. And we're going to select the Add Voxels tool. And let's use box. And I'm going to draw a box that covers the gap where the door is, like that. Okay? Notice the door's still there because it's an attachment, not a physical voxel model. So it's not going to interfere with the voxels of the door. Okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to select a transparent color. So we're going to click the plus button on here. And it's already defaulted to the last color you placed. So that should already be black. And we're just going to drag this almost to the very bottom. Let's say about, you could drag it to the bottom if you want, but I like to do just, with black, you don't have to go all the way, just towards the very end there. And then save. Now, you only need to place that on frame 1 because, in essence, that's the one where the door is closed. But it doesn't matter anyway, because you'll see in game that once the game has detected that that's where that there's, a clickable surface here, that will remain sort of baked into the game. So you see that we can now actually click on the door, because essentially we're not actually clicking on the door, but it's just that we can't see the actual black box that's part of the model now that's covering where the door is. But as soon as we open the door, that goes away, so we can now move through the door. But it remains there, so we can click it to also close the door. So it's a really nice way of solving that particular problem. Anyway, hopefully this video has been useful in regards to how attach points work and how to make, more complicated attach systems. Hope explaining how the 000 mechanic works and also how it relates to which attach point. Hope my point A and point B naming system made that clearer. I was just trying to sort of find a visual way of differentiating point A from point B in a way that sort of made sense. So if anything's been unclear here, please do let me know. If you have any questions, please ask on the Discord. But yeah, this should hopefully help at the very least. So with that said, that'll wrap up this video. Thanks for watching.